Way back in the time before the time, July of 2021, Lando Norris was accosted, and not in the fun way. The McLaren darling was watching his beloved England soccer team lose to Italy on penalty kicks at Wembley Stadium in the Euro 2020 final. Quite the game, with the teams going for penalties after a 1-1 tie. And, of course, he drove his $165,000 bright orange McLaren to the game, like any normie would. When the game was over, he went to leave, and as to be expected, there was a bit of a crowd around his car. Naturally, he chatted with folks briefly and took a picture with a fan, but that's when disaster struck. That's when two strangers in the small crowd jumped him. One put him in a headlock from behind, and the other stripped him of his watch, leaving scratches and DNA on Lando's wrist that would later be admissible in court proceedings that eventually occurred the following year. Now, it's important to keep in mind that every country has drastically different issues with their justice system, so things like this are a little bit different, just a heads up. But the watch they stole wasn't just any watch, it was an RM6702 custom Richard Mille, valued at $180,000. A watch that's been described as a prototype limited edition with a made-to-measure blue strap designed to fit the racing driver and has never been available to the retail public. Basically, it's the McLaren of watches, more like the Bugatti of watches. Richard Mille, as you know, is an F1 sponsor. In some F1 cars, you can see their logo on the halo. Not to mention their watches on drivers' wrists at the end of the race, which is how it came to be on Lando Norris's. But worry not, folks, because justice was served. This past March, yes, March of 2023, a 25-year-old bricklayer, you know, the one with his DNA all over Lando's wrist after the incident took place, was found not guilty. That's right, not guilty. After 2 whole hours of jury deliberations. See, don't feel bad, we're not the only country with a fake justice system. But you know what isn't fake? Likes and subscribes, because I could certainly use a few of those, not to mention an editing staff and a social media coordinator. Kidding, not kidding. But getting back to our story, Mr. Williams told the court the 3 friends he traveled with didn't have tickets to the Euro final when they drove into town. Upon arriving at the area of the stadium, Williams bumped into a dude on the street that he knew and watched the game from that guy's cell phone outside of a Wembley pub. So he says. When the game ended around midnight, his homies he came with, and whose names he could not remember, left him alone without explanation, and then less than an hour later, they magically appeared with the watch in hand and were showing it off. According to Williams, he took a look at it and thought they had just found it. He said he thought they had just found a $180,000 watch and were showing it off, and that he didn't know was stolen. Meanwhile, Lando Norris has this guy's DNA scratched into his skin. Williams went on to say he went to a party with those guys later that night where the watch was being paraded around, but one of the real thieves heard him mention it to someone else on his cell phone and threatened him. In the following days, he said that same individual from the party harassed him and even threatened his life, so Williams got rid of his own cell phone, to protect himself, because he's a victim. Once again, Williams' DNA was scratched into Lando Norris's wrist. Interestingly enough, Lando Norris had gone to the game with a friend named Max, who was there for all of it. And so was a small crowd of people, all of which supposedly saw what happened, and yet when asked, no one gave police statements. Not only that, but Lando Norris couldn't pick out the defendant during a police lineup. And just this year, Lando was robbed again. This time, though, it was his Spanish villa, a villa where he was staying with friends. They were robbed while he was out to dinner with them. Ferrari driver Carlos Sainz was robbed after finishing 3rd in the Italian Grand Prix this year, also of a Richard Mille, only this one is valued at a cool $623,000. Chump change, really. According to ESPN, reports in Italy say Sainz, his trainer, and members of the public who saw the robbery take place pursued the robbers and were able to catch up to them, where the thief was subsequently arrested. But that wasn't the first Ferrari driver to fall victim to a watch thievery. Charles Leclerc was also a victim last year of a robbery on his Richard Mille, and it too also took place in Italy. Italian police, it's just kind of funny, if you think what you do for a living is worthless. The Italian police, hilarious. The Italian police recently arrested 4 suspects in connection with that robbery. Only took him a year. According to the Daily Mail, Leclerc was out with a personal trainer, Andrea Ferrari, at the time of the robbery, was signing autographs and posing for selfies, but realized his Richard Mille 6702, which had been customized to be in the colors of the Monaco flag and worth 265,000 pounds, had been swiped from his wrist. No good, very bad crooks had convinced Leclerc that they were fans and that he should get out of his car to take pictures with them. Clever crooks. That's when they pushed him and wrangled the watch off his wrist, and then they took off on mopeds. Leclerc, chasing down 2 of the 4 of them in his Ferrari, came up short after his valiant and heroic attempts at stopping them. Just look at this intense footage of the car chase in the streets of Italy to recover a $300,000 watch. Oh wait, no, this is the actual footage. I am the greatest racing driver in the world. The Ferrari. No one can stop me, and this heist will never be solved. Because I am the French. Hit the brakes, call the cops. Hey, we got Charles' watch from him. Just make sure this gets back to him. He's a really nice guy. Just not big Ferrari fans, but I'll see you later. Red Bull rules! Where are those losers with my watch? Ew, hey guys, can you wait up for me? I'm the mastermind behind all of this too. Guys, wait up. Are we gonna meet at the bar later or what? Guys! It's cool. I mean, we got the footage of that. It's just not the actual robbery itself. That was, around the block, around the corner. Leclerc's personal trainer lashed out at the town of Reggio, though, saying, "Think of arranging the streetlights sooner or later?" Asking for a friend. So he's complaining about the streetlights, as one does. Richard Mille is the highest priced watches of any watch sponsor in Formula One. It is the tippity top of the mountain, and we're literally only halfway up. According to the Oracle of Time, Richard Mille sponsors McLaren, both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, and Ferrari too, so that covers Sainz and Leclerc, obviously. Behind them, there's the Rebellion brand watches sponsoring Alfa Romeo, with Botas and Joe's Revolt C42s retailing at about $70,000, well behind the $180,000 Richard Milles. Now, there are cheaper Richard Milles, but not very many. Definitely the exception to the rule. Aston Martin's watch sponsor, Girard-Perregaux, will run you between $7,000 and $16,000, massively less than a Richard Mille or a Rebellion. But when you look at the rest of the grid, the watch sponsors change drastically. The price point from the Richard Mille and Rebellion to the next most valuable watch is almost 2 to 4% of those top 2. The average IWC, which will run you between $4,000 to $9,000, sponsors Mercedes, so that covers Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. Also, Nick DeVries, strangely enough. On down from there, we have Tag Heuer, the classic F1 watch sponsor. Tag actually has an awesome Formula One watch line and has for years. I picked one up about a year ago and never looked back, really. On average, they'll run you between $1,500 and $6,000, and they sponsor Red Bull, so that covers Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. Williams is sponsored by Bremont, who's at a similar level but sold at a slightly higher price point than a Tag Heuer, but that's about it. The same goes for Alpine, whose sponsor is Bell & Ross, who I think has some really awesome square-cased watches, but that's for another video. In case you're wondering where Rolex stands in all of this, they don't sponsor a team or a driver. They're actually a partner of Formula One, which is why you see their advertisement around the tracks and the clock ticking down prior to the formation lap. And as expected, Haas and AlphaTauri have no watch sponsors. Kind of depressing, actually, but that's all right. Although Yuki Tsunoda has been seen wearing the famous Omega Swatch Moon Swatch, and that's a very cool one. So, now that we've covered the F1 watch landscape, it's clear why we're seeing the occasional robbery attempts on F1 drivers' watches. It's risk versus reward. And to a criminal, a Richard Mille is worth the risk. Now, seeing as how criminals are getting off completely for robbing them, even in the face of DNA evidence, the risk is almost nothing, and the reward is massive. I expect attempted robberies against F1 drivers to increase towards the lower price watches in the future because Great Britain, Italy, and America are now basically Gotham City, and there's no Batman coming to rescue anyone.
Why so serious?
But let's go back to those robbery cases. No one seems to be going to prison. Not only that, but the time, place, and items all seem to be present simultaneously, conveniently, with multiple witnesses who choose not to testify on the matter at hand. Lando Norris was literally wrestled down in a parking lot at night with a ton of witnesses around, including his friend named Max, and no one said a word, and he was unable to identify the primary suspect, as well as Carlos Sainz's most recent event. He seems to have looked pretty pissed, actually. Formula One has long had a reputation for theater, akin to professional wrestling. From teams lying to their new phenom drivers about tire punctures, to giving team orders to benefit the driver with the most money. F1 has long been rife with orchestrated theater and drama, so is it out of the realm of possibilities that these watch robbery attempts are more of just that, drama to drive the sport? It's definitely a possibility. Richard Mille is a brand with few customers and a high reputation. With every robbery attempt of a Richard Mille from an F1 driver, their brand name is in the papers, all over social media, across F1, sports, the watch and jewelry community, and not to mention law enforcement. A massive marketing benefit that plays into their business strategy, which is exclusivity. Just like Formula One, very high-end exclusivity in fact. They're not advertising to you and me, they're not trying to sell you and me a watch. They're advertising themselves as an exclusive, one-of-a-kind brand so worthy that people even rob Formula One drivers in the streets to get them. It keeps the price points at $180,000 per watch intact and diminishes the value of their competitors in the market, thereby maintaining the luxury price point well above everyone else, and on an F1 driver's car to boot. It's the pinnacle of exclusivity on the pinnacle of racing. I certainly hope it's not the case. I certainly hope it's not a publicity stunt, but that's the way things seem to be going. It's entirely likely. If these mystery thieves ever end up doing some real time, we'll know the truth. And speaking of truth, I'm all out of it. Great posting videos again, guys. Thanks for all the good support. I'll have a surprise for you in the next video, actually. It's gonna be pretty cool. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. And then do it, and read a couple lines and do it.
Okay, that's why there's so many cuts in the videos.
There's so many cuts.
Okay. I feel like you just tricked me into doing your YouTube video for you.
No,
No.
but it's good practice. I have to record anyways, because I have to record right now. So it's all on anyways.
You gonna put some clips of me in there?
No.
Why not?
Do you want me to?
Yeah. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. I don't know how you do this.